Well, a warm welcome to today's talk, Sunday the 20th of August. Now let's start off with a pretty revealing graphic about the Food and Drug Administration in the United States. What has been going on here? Has there been deliberate misinformation from this body? Let's have a look, and of course you'll have to make your own mind up. Now, this is the graphic here. These are daily COVID vaccine doses throughout the pandemic in the United States. So starting December 2020, huge numbers of vaccines have been given out. Then on this arrow here, we see that on the 8th of August 2023, the Food and Drug Administration explicitly recognises that doctors have authority to prescribe ivermectin to treat COVID-19. Now, of course, we are not saying that ivermectin is effective in treating COVID-19. We're making no comment on that whatsoever. But we are using this quote directly from the FDA lawyer. And we're showing this graphic to show the timing of this announcement from the Food and Drug Administration. So after the vaccine companies have raked in their billions of dollars, the FDA finally seemed to have changed their position on ivermectin. Now let's look at the background to this story and what's gone on here. Now, this is a Department of Justice lawyer representing the Food and Drug Administration has said this in a public hearing. Circuit Judge was Jennifer Walker Elrod, who was one of the judges, and the counsel who said this was Ashley Cheung Honold, representing the Food and Drug Administration. So this is precise people, precise times and places, oral arguments on the 8th of August 2023, the US Court of Appeal for the Fifth Circuit. So that's exactly where this has come from, time and place. Now, this is what the lawyer said, representing the FDA. FDA explicitly recognises that doctors do have the authority to prescribe ivermectin to treat COVID-19. We're not saying that it does, but that's what they say. They have the right to prescribe it. FDA has clearly acknowledged that doctors have the authority to prescribe human ivermectin to treat COVID-19. So this is the FDA finally giving doctors permission to prescribe drugs. You might have thought that doctors were allowed to prescribe drugs before, but the FDA finally said they can in this circumstance. Better late than never. It is very, very late, isn't it? Very, very late. The lawyer goes on, so they're not interfering with the authority of doctors to prescribe drugs or to practice medicine. Presumably they are, is the FDA. So there you go, nothing to do with the FDA. So I have this idea of concordance. So the idea is you go to your doctor and your doctor says, you know, John, I think we should maybe try this medicine here for your blood pressure or whatever. And you say, yes, doctor, that seems a good idea. We'll try that. There's agreement between the two parties. The doctor could say, well, John, you might have some side effects from this. This is the pros, this is the cons. I mean, that would be the ideal situation. It doesn't quite happen like that in the National Health Service. But we have concordance, agreement. So the FDA kindly now is giving doctors the permission to achieve concordance with their individual consenting adult patients. Quite incredible that it's taken this time to clarify this position. Now, this happened because 3 lawyers filed a lawsuit by this company in the United States on behalf of 3 doctors who were disciplined for prescribing human-grade ivermectin to patients. Of course, it was human-grade. They're doctors, after all. And this is the case here. You can check it out for yourself. That's actually the document. Dr. Apter, Dr. Boyden and Dr. Marek were the doctors who took this case. FDA had violated well-established law that allows doctors to prescribe FDA-approved drugs as an off-label treatment, is what these doctors were contending. Now, off-label treatment is things that the drug can be given for that aren't necessarily what it was originally planned for. So, for example, aspirin, of course, was originally for fever. Then people found it was a painkiller, so doctors started prescribing it for painkillers. Then doctors found it stopped the stickiness of the platelets. It was a bit of a clot preventer. And so doctors started prescribing it for that, which is perfectly reasonable. Morphine was originally prescribed for pain, but then doctors found it could help breathing in terminal care patients. could actually slow the breathing and strengthen the breathing down. Sometimes it's used for extreme diarrhea. Viagra was originally developed as a treatment for angina. Then doctors started prescribing it for something else. And then other things like the antidepressants, the selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, the SSRIs. They're originally used for depression, and doctors found that they were good for treating fibromyalgia. So this off-label idea of treating things is ubiquitous in medicine. And yet the FDA now says that doctors in the United States can do it. Generous of them. So this was the problem. FDA, the doctors said, this is what the doctors said in their case, had unlawfully taken formal, unequivocal and conclusory action to prohibit or otherwise interfere with the use of ivermectin to treat COVID-19. We're not saying that it does. This is what they said. The FDA cannot advise whether or for what purpose a doctor should prescribe or a patient should take an approved drug. That's what they're saying. That's what they said. And ivermectin became an approved drug by the FDA in 1966. This is not a new drug. It's a fundamental principle in medicine that you want to use drugs that are tried, tested, and that we know about. We tend only to use new drugs if it was something, an emergency situation or something where a senior doctor decided that was necessary. Basically, we want to use the drugs that we know, trust, and are skilled in using. And this one's been around since 1966. Anyway, this case was rejected in 2022, but they appealed. But it's not surprising. It's a horse medicine after all. So this is the famous. Now this is still there. This is still on. I just checked about an hour ago. This is still on the FDA website. Believe it or not, you should not use ivermectin to treat or prevent COVID-19. Again, we're not saying you should, but this is what the FDA is saying. And they supply a picture of a horse. Now, why did they put a picture of a horse there? Really quite strange. You can tell it's a horse because it's kind of got a long face and sticky out ears. So it's definitely a horse. So they must have put that there for some reason. Who knows how the FDA thinks about this. Then, of course, there's the famous tweet here. You're not a horse, you're not a cow, seriously ill, stop it. So some United States vernacular, I would imagine there. And again, we've got the horse, just in case there's any ambiguity. So the clear inference there is that this is a medicine for horses and cows. Therefore, obviously, you wouldn't want to give it to humans. Is that true, though, however? Is that strictly true? Anyway, at the appeal, the judge said, what about when you said, no, stop it? This is Circuit Judge Jennifer Walker. Elrod, why isn't this a command? So were the FDA commanding here? Were the FDA saying, thou shalt not? Or were they saying something less than that? Well, for 2.5 years now, we've thought they were saying, at least I thought they were saying, thou shalt not, from on high in tablets of stone. But it appears not. Why isn't that a command? If you're in English class, you would say that was a command, says the judge. Anyway, the lawyer representing the FDA says they were merely quips. So there you go. All this fuss has been about nothing. They weren't commands at all. They were just quips from the FDA. Just quips. Yeah. Just unbelievable. So is it a horse and cow medicine? Yes, of course it is. It's excellent for parasites in horses and cows. And indeed, it's widely used in veterinary medicine. But of course, it got the Nobel Prize for human medicine in 2015, Santoshi Amora and William Campbell, no relation. 2015 Nobel Prize for Medicine. So the American Journal of Tropical Health and Hygiene states more than 2.5 billion, that's 2.5 thousand million, doses have been distributed in the last 30 years for consumption by human beings. That's people without a long face who look a bit like me. Some a lot better looking, but they look a lot like me, but they're nothing like a horse or a cow. And some estimates say up to 4 billion doses. So for the FDA to project this as a horse medicine, given that between 2.5 and 4 billion human doses have been distributed, you might think is disingenuous. I'm not going to make your mind up for you, but you might think they've been disingenuous in this. You make your own mind up. It's on the WHO list of essential medicines for human beings. Here's the WHO site here. Check it out for yourself. This is their catalogue here. You can download it all. This is the 23rd edition, bang up to date, 2023. Here we have it here. And here we see underneath albendazole, we see ivermectin 3 milligram tablets for human use, recommended by the World Health Organization, absolutely, unambiguously a human drug. Why would the FDA want to be so disingenuous as to put pictures of horses on their website? Emergency use authorization of medical products and related authorities. Now, this is when drugs, say for example a new vaccine, can be prescribed under emergency use authorization. For that to happen, there must be no effective alternatives. And I don't want to get this wrong, so I'm going straight to the FDA site here. I've just cut and pasted this. No alternatives. For the FDA to issue an emergency use authorization, there must be no adequate, approved and available alternative to the candidate product for diagnosing, preventing or treating the disease of a condition. So if a new vaccine for, say, disease X was discovered, and there was an effective alternative treatment, then emergency use authorization could not be given. No one's saying this has anything to do with the FDA putting pictures of horses on their websites, of course. Unless you think that, you might make your mind up about that yourself. A potential alternative product may be considered unavailable if there are insufficient supplies. The pharmaceutical industry can make ivermectin by the ton, by the hundreds of tons, if they wanted to. It's a generic formula. Of course, it's generic, so it's dirt cheap. I did check it out once. The World Health Organization was literally paying a few cents, well less than 10 cents per tablet for ivermectin. Other drugs, well, for example, some vaccines are significantly more expensive than that and make much more profit for Big Pharma. Big Pharma couldn't make any money out of ivermectin because it's off patent. The generic factories in India could produce it by the ton, provide it to the world easily, readily, quickly, and very, very, very safely, using the right human doses prescribed by doctors, nurse practitioners, people that are prescribers. We know it's a remarkably safe drug in the right dose, in the right formulation. That's the VIGI base, the WHO. Is it WHO? Anyway, the VIGI base, vigilance base. Treatment misinformation. Now, I've used the word ivermectin once or twice on this video, so I may not be seeing you for a while. That's possible. But YouTube have changed their guidelines. So these are the new guidelines here. We do not allow content that promotes information that contradicts health authority guidance on treatments for specific health conditions. Well, I have said that this is the FDA, so that's the health authority. So this is what the FDA is saying. I've merely quoted what the FDA has said. Including promotion of specific harmful substances or practices that have not been approved by local health authorities or the World Health Organization as safe and effective. Of course, we've said ivermectin on the VIGI base has got very good records. We haven't said it's effective against COVID-19. Emphatically, we're not saying that. Or have been confirmed to cause severe harm. And as we say, at the right dose, prescribed by doctors, this is pretty safe. So there you go. Let's just have a look at that graphic that we started off with. And like me, you may well be completely furious at this stage. But But don't let me influence you. That's the information. Make up your own mind. And I really hope I'll be seeing you in the next few days. If not, I'll see you when I see you. Let's hope for the best. Quite incredible, that graph. Absolutely incredible. There you go. We'll close with that. Thanks for watching.